brothers and sisters in Christ. Please receive this little video as my pastor's report for 2020. It should be formally received by the congregations at our annual meetings on January 31st, 2021. Of course, it's impossible to talk about 2020 without talking about COVID-19. A year ago, we really had no idea what was in store for us, but March 15th was the last time that we had indoor, in-person worship services. After that, we suspended those. But we haven't closed. We never closed. Not for a single day did we close. We immediately pivoted to online programming. We continued to be available to people in person for counseling. Individuals, couples, and bubbles were able to meet. We had small baptismal groups through. We did little weddings, and we did small funerals. Larger funerals we held outside at graveside, and some families are waiting until spring or summer in the hope that we'll be able to have a more traditional funeral service and maybe even a funeral lunch. We can hope for those things. We had driveway meetings. We had porch visitations. That became sort of the order of the day. Our care group just upped their game tremendously. And each month, every one of our shut-ins has received a gift from the churches so that they know that they are remembered, and they know that they are loved. The quilting groups have knocked themselves out. They set new records for quilts produced and for care kits produced and sent. May God bless them as they serve. Track, the Tomorrow River Area Community Kitchen, continues to meet the needs of our neighbors during difficult times. So John and Betty and Elton and Melba and all the rest of you who are part of it, thank you from the bottom of my heart for treating our neighbors with grace and dignity and love in the middle of difficult circumstances. We moved Sunday school online. Every week we send out packets to all of the Sunday school kids of both churches, coloring sheets and puzzles and things that they can do, activities they can do to go with the lesson. And then there is a video lesson that is presented to them on that story, on those themes. Confirmation has moved online. Our pre-baptismal and premarital sessions are almost exclusively online, and council meetings have moved online, and as you're aware, our annual meetings will be online as well. In August, we began outdoor services. I'm not sure why we didn't start earlier. Maybe all of us hoped and assumed that we couldn't possibly go on and on and on as long as it has. But in August, we started outdoor services, and we continue to hold them. 8 confirmands were confirmed in October. They were confirmed outdoor. We had everything that makes a confirmation service special. And we had the faith statements and the white robes and the families and the laying on of hands and the whole deal. Again, the outdoor services, they continue, and they're fun. I want to encourage any of you for whom it would not be a danger to come. Church is open. Worship services are being held. Come to church. Christians have suffered tremendously in many times and in many places to gather, and they've paid with their lives. They've paid by being in prison. They've been beaten. We face cold ears and cold feet, and it's not such a great sacrifice. For those for whom attending outdoor services is a danger, however, we don't want you to take any risks. We wouldn't think of it. We continue to post sermons and announcements and Sunday school lessons on the website every week, and we have no intention of stopping that anytime soon. In fact, high-end camera equipment is being installed in Nelsonville, and very soon we'll be able to webcast and, when we get good enough, broadcast our worship services. Maybe radio's in the mix as well. We're going to continue to grow and to extend our reach as God gives us opportunity. If you are hungry for communion, you have but to ask. and we will have a little service for your bubble, the people that you are with all the time anyway. And we have ways to do it safely, and the altar of the Lord, the table of the Lord, is open for you. If you wish to speak to the pastors, all you have to do is ask again. There are a lot of safe ways that we can make that happen, and we are delighted to have those opportunities. The church is never closed. We are open for you. And of course, we all want the restoration of all that we love and all that we miss. When will we be able to gather in person without masks, singing and doing the liturgy and laughing and hugging and eating and sharing? Well, by God's grace, this will all come back to us. But it's going to be a while yet. And it's going to come back to us in pieces, little by little. And almost certainly it's going to take longer than any of us want. We're aware that other churches have opened, some with very, very few precautions. We're aware that Walmart is open, that bars and restaurants are open, that school is open. And so there's a voice in us that says, why are we not open for in-person services for whoever wants to come? Well, the news about the pandemic is mixed at the moment. Overall rates of infection are down in Wisconsin, really down from the peak in November. And we have vaccines coming online, going into arms, thanks be to God. But we're aware that other parts of the country have pushed their numbers down, and now they're spiking again. There are new and highly contagious variants that are spreading, both here and around the world. And far from being encouraging, public health officials are actually starting to talk about need for us to double mask, which is a whole new thing for us. Portage County continues to declare that the spread here is very high. Our local hospitals are running near capacity, and our entire upline, the county health services, the state health authorities, our bishop, and the Wisconsin Council of Churches are all telling us that not only should we not be moving forward, but that what we're doing, the outdoor services, are probably premature. So, when? Trust me when I tell you that there is absolutely no one in the leadership of either congregation who does not wish we could just throw open the doors. It has been really painful for your elected leaders trying to discern the right path and then stick to that decision. I thank them. We all owe them our thanks. The next council is going to inherit the responsibility and that same struggle. And I'll be advising them to create a public data-based path that we can all see, which all of us can use to predict which activities will be available to us when. There wasn't enough light or enough hope for the last council to do such a thing, but there is now. But it won't be as fast as any of us hope, and there will be limitations and compromises at each step. I do need you to prepare yourself for that. I'm including with the email that contains this video a sample path forward recommended by the Wisconsin Council of Churches. The WCC proposes using a matrix of vaccination rates, infection rates, and test positivity rates to determine what can happen when. So if I had to guess today, I'd guess that we'll do something similar here for our path forward. At any rate, connected to this video in this email, there's the video from the Wisconsin Council of Churches, there's the slide deck that's used in the video, and a PDF of their report that is the basis for both the video and the slide deck. So I give them to you for your prayerful consideration. We are ready to go here at church whenever new offerings become safe. We have a pathway to expanding opportunities all laid out. We are all in this together, and we all want the same things. But as we wait, I'd like you to think about using the time and the separation and the loss as a spiritual discipline. I'd like us to all come out of this better and stronger and kinder and more faithful. Our response in the Tomorrow River Parish to the pandemic has been very deliberate. We're doing all things for the good of the most vulnerable. We're constraining ourselves and limiting our freedom for the sake of the neighbor. We are intentionally doing less than we legally could as a service to our community. We're supposed to be salt and light for the world. We're supposed to be ambassadors of peace and grace. We exist to be a witness to the world of a manner of life that is not self-absorbed, but rather sacrifices much so that others can see Jesus reflected in us. I have pastoral colleagues. There are pastors in the area who are being pushed pretty hard by their people. Sometimes they're being threatened. If you don't open for in-person, indoor worship immediately, we are out of this church. Some of my colleagues have pre-existing medical conditions that their people don't know about, and they're doing things that are unsafe for them. Thanks be to God that we're managing ourselves better than that here in the Tomorrow River Lutheran Parish. I know some of you are angry. I know many of us are frustrated. I am hearing things like, let's just open church. Anyone who feels safe can come, and anyone who doesn't feel safe can stay home. I'm hearing things like, well, Church X is open. Why aren't we open? And still others are saying things like, well, look, if liquor stores can open, churches should be allowed to be open. We have the right to gather, to practice our faith. So I'd like to respond to all of those sorts of sentences as gently as possible, but also directly. I'm glad for the video today. It gives us a chance to say things carefully and for you to hear and to replay what I say. So God willing, there won't be misunderstandings. So let's try to be clear together. When I exercise my freedom to go anywhere or to do anything, I am binding and limiting the freedom of others, whether I think about it or not, whether I remember or not. Every risk I take is backstopped by my expectation that if I get sick, if I make others sick, local doctors and nurses will work additional hours and take additional risks to limit the damage that I've done to myself or to others, exercising my freedom. In a very real sense, my exercise of freedom binds them. My choices take away their choices. Hospitals around here are already operating near capacity. If my exercise of freedom sends more people into the hospital with COVID, there's less capacity for those who have emergencies of all sorts. There's less capacity for people with pre-existing needs. People will not get the care they need. People will suffer. No one will be able to pin it to me, but God will know. And my soul will have marks on it. Further, and let's just be candid, I think we all understand that when we reopen indoors, some of our brothers and sisters will choose not to follow our temporary rules for gathering safely. I think that's just a given, don't you? A vulnerable person may come expecting the fellowship to be wearing masks and discover that they are instead exposed to a greater risk than they had imagined. Another person may not know the extent of their vulnerability, and they may learn of it in the worst possible way. We're only as safe as our least safe member. And our preventative measures are only as effective as our least compliant member permits. That's just what it means to be in this together. None of us lives in a vacuum. Everything we do has societal repercussions. The circles of influence spread outward, and everything we do affects our neighbors. We're not members of a club. We're a family. We're God's family. In addition, all of us, leadership and members alike, we are all desperately trying to keep the school open and to keep local small businesses open. Public health agencies are all but begging us, all of us, to avoid groups outside our family bubbles. It would be a tragedy for us to contribute to a local upsurge in cases that sends cohorts of students home, or that threatens the ability of the school to stay open, or that pushes any of our local businesses over the edge. Especially since we are already open. We're holding in-person services every single week. Please come. If you're currently skiing or snowmobiling or shoveling your walk or walking the dog or ice fishing, come to church. If you've ever sat through a Packers game in December or January, come to church. It's 25 minutes, really. And if you can do it without risking your health or your safety, please come. I am not saying that being frustrated is wrong. I'm certainly not saying that wanting our lives back is bad. I'm pointing out something that you already know. That it's small and it's selfish for us to say that unless we can have church exactly the way we want it, we will not participate. If you miss church, come to church. Over time, the God of grace who gives us all things will restore to us the fullness of what was and of what will be. Luther said that as Christians, we are the perfectly free lords of all, and at the same time, the perfectly bound servants of all. Jesus surrendered his freedom and took the form of a slave for our sakes. For just a little longer, we gladly limit our freedom for the sake of our neighbors, that we might all be free together soon. So it doesn't matter if Church X is having a maskless service. It doesn't matter that bars and restaurants and liquor stores are open. We are not looking to them for our cues. We're looking to Jesus' example and to our neighbor's need. So I'm pleading with you, have faith, have patience, long for the sweetness of our community gathered around the Word and at the Lord's table. Be at peace. Okay, on to other things. We're going to do property for both churches here, so when we're talking about your neighbor's church, you feel free to listen in, or you feel free to think about other things. Pray for your neighbor. They need it. First, peace property. Now, the basement project is finally done. The floor is now polished concrete. The bathroom is operational. Young Blessings Preschool is using the space, and it is a great gift to our community, having a preschool, having childcare, so that people can go back and work, so we can get things going again. There is new storage for track and for the quilters that has been added to the balance of the sand room. Part of it was turned into the new bathroom. Part of it is now beautiful storage. As your president, Greg Reichenbach, said in his report, we have settled with the insurance company of the vendor who did us so much damage, who hurt us so badly. We've emerged financially whole. And the entire sorry incident is now behind us, and we can go forward together. We are at a place where the episodic flooding instances and events in our basement are greatly reduced and can be easily managed. We are at the place now where we can manage the water that gets into our basement. It does not derail us. It does not shut us down. Padding has been taken off all of the pews in the sanctuary, and the padded chair seats have been replaced with hardwood seats. So whenever we're able to get back into our sanctuary, it's ready for rapid disinfecting wipe downs between services to keep all of us as safe as possible. The carpet on the dais has been replaced with hardwood. The project to install interior beams in the sanctuary has been completed, and now there are new possibilities for the artist in our midst to beautify our worship space. All of the incandescent bulbs in the building have been replaced by LEDs, as have all of the CFLs. We are currently doing a gradual switchover between fluorescent tubes and LED tubes, and so each year, each month, we'll be saving a little bit more and being a little bit more energy efficient here. The church is tight and clean and in good repair. We do have some property issues in front of us that we need to be cognizant of of and to be thinking about. The rubber membrane roof on the Sunday school wing has lived its useful life and very soon will need to be replaced. So we will have to be thinking about that. And then, we've been talking about it for years, the exterior beams need to be prepped and sealed somehow. There are several bad options. We will need to choose the least bad option together. All right, Nelsonville property. I want to point you to George Conkle's video and to his report. It's kind of amazing. Here are the highlights. The elevator has been fixed. It is clean, it is well lit, the sliding doors work. It is unrecognizable for those of you who remember the box of death that it used to be. And we didn't spend $350,000, we didn't spend $100,000, we spent a couple $100. So thanks to Pastor Gretchen and to Tom Johnson and to George Conkle for the elbow grease and the work that they put into resurrecting that little elevator. It is amazing. You will not believe it. A contract has been signed to replace the shingled part of the Nelsonville roof with a steel roof. We are on the list for Coyote Construction, and whenever they get to us, we will be glad to have that new roof. The building is tight and clean and in good repair. High quality cameras, as I mentioned earlier, have been installed in the sanctuary so that we can webcast or broadcast our services in the near future. And the basement project is on hold until we can gather again and make some necessary decisions about what will be done and how it will be done. It will happen, and it'll be whatever the community decides it should be. All right, so that's property. Money. Both churches came in under budget. Both churches participated in the Paycheck Protection Program. Both churches ended the year stronger than where they were when the year began. Both churches were helped along by gifts from non-members who are participating with us in our online services and offerings. It's completely amazing. God is so faithful, so good to us. Both church councils are presenting to the churches very conservative budgets for the coming year. We're endeavoring to trust that God will continue to provide for us while we remain aware that there are very real challenges ahead of us. So thank you to all of you who've remembered your promises to support the congregation and the work of Christ in this place. Thank you to Carla and to Judy for their careful work. And thank you to the councils for their oversight of all things here. A brief word about staff. Sometime during 2020, both churches had their custodians retire. So with incredible gratitude and respect, we thank Luann Loberg and Gretchen Diver for all of their work and all their years of service. And I want to announce to the congregations that the same custodian has been hired by both churches to replace them. Tom Johnson is our new custodian. He is a gift to us, and we are grateful to have him in our midst. Suzanne continues to learn new things and to gather new skills to help us with new forms of ministry. And our Sunday school coordinators, Skylar Bricko and Jamie Trevatuski, have completely redone Sunday school to make it function during this time of COVID. And so we are blessed by the staff that we have around us here. I do want to say thank you to the outgoing members of both councils. It has been an honor and a joy to serve with you. I want to in particular thank both of my presidents, Greg Reichenbach and Peggy Henke. Both of them are term limited and must step down this year, but Greg and Peggy have been wonderful partners in a challenging year and have put in many, many, many more hours than they ever imagined. I anticipate that they will be glad not to get the daily text or email from me as the months ahead of us unfold, but I don't have words for how grateful I am. In conclusion, I continue to be grateful to be part of this community of faith. I'm excited to learn with you what God has planned for us. Please stay in touch. I hope to see you soon. May God bless, protect, and keep us in faith. Amen.